It's head coach Corey Mace as he heads into his second full season. Coach, how are you?
Maz, what's happening, brother? Doing lovely.
Well, now that you've kind of been here a full year, what do you think of your first full winter in Saskatchewan? You've got a chance to see it all. Give us on a 1 to 10, where you, 1 being awful, 10 being still awful. What would you rate this winter at?
I'd say this is a solid 8,
Okay.
It would be, I'll put it like this. Thank goodness that there's heat here in the office and at the house. Not a lot of time spent outside, even though the kids, they just see snow. They want to get out there and they get a taste of that wind. Yeah. So it's not been terrible though, because I still get to do the things I love, which is spend time with the family and then come to work and do football, man.
All right. I had mentioned earlier that when we get a chance to talk to you, we're going to talk about today, but then we're going to jump in a time machine and we're going to rewind to 2014 when Corey Mace was Corey Mace, the Stampeder. Just a player, not a coach, but he played with some dogs on a Grey Cup champion team with one of our guys, Charleston Hughes. But we'll do that in a sec. All right, so free agency, although it's still going on, a lot of the action has already happened. There's a lot of people, not only in Rider Nation, but across the CFL, giving Jeremy O'Day and staff credit for what has been done to not only reinforce what you guys started last year, but also bring in some new faces. Can you take us behind the scenes? How does it work when somebody is becoming available? Do they come to you? Do you go to them? Like, how is this? Is it a constant dialogue? Like, how does a Kerfala Exume end up on the Saskatchewan Roughriders roster?
Yeah, no, great question. I got to give so much credit to J.O. and Kyle Carson, these guys. Like they do so much work. You should see our war room as we prepare for things like free agency and the draft. It's a full meal deal. Everybody, all hands on deck. From the coach's standpoint, we look at some potentials that could be coming available, and you kind of have similar to a draft day. You got like a big board and following things, and then from there it's just the due diligence of J.O. and Kyle, speaking with the representation of these players throughout the tampering window, kind of getting a feel of engaging their interest in being a rider, maybe how much that's going to cost, So, but you can't just open up the window and just start working there. There's so much work that goes into it, prior to even the window opening, so that you kind of have your ducks in a row to get started. So. Tip of the cap, as they should. I think they've been doing a lot of good work here for quite a few years. But I thought excellent free agency for us.
A guy like a Wayne Ruby Jr., who XFL, UFL, because I follow some weird football people on Twitter, with this Wayne Ruby Jr. really stands out when you're 9 layers deep in Twitter football follows. Okay. What can you tell us about this wide receiver that's going to show up in training camp, hopefully to some warmer weather than we have right now? And what do you hope to see out of this guy? Who is he?
Yeah, no, a great question. When speaking with him, the first thing he said, Coach, I'm going to bring that Florida swag up there, and what I love most about, not only Wayne, but the other guys in the situation, he's a Division III football player, and a lot of guys that I've had time either coaching or playing with, Fred Jackson's one of them. I mean, these guys are so prideful about carrying, like, yeah, you know what? I was a Division III football player. That's a lot of teams that felt I wasn't good enough to play at higher levels. What he was able to do, at his school and really at that level of football, I mean, he's blown. I mean, he almost had 7,000 yards receiving throughout his college career.
Wow.
He's an immaculate talent. Certainly somebody, I know a lot of guys in the building, not only just coaches, but players are excited to work with. And the kid himself, he bless his heart, rookies, he texted me, said, hey, Coach, can I get this number? I said, hey, Wayne, let me tell you something about being a rookie. You might have to wear 177. You got to earn your right to get the number you want. But he said, hey, I get it. No problem. Looking forward to proving you right and signing us. So elated for the kid's future to see what he looks like coming in. Usually there's always a couple guys that you're excited to see from, coming to camp. Last year, the Keyshawn Johnsons, Dante Meyer. This kid's one of those as well.
It's funny you mentioned Dante Myers, because if you watched him in training camp, you're like, whoa, there is all sorts of potential there. Then when he eventually got on the roster, we got a chance to see it. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Is there one or two players that from the team last year that'll be back that didn't get their Dante Myers moment? Who do you think could pop this year that Rider Nation maybe hasn't fallen in love with yet, because maybe they just haven't had the chance? Who's hiding in plain sight on the Rider roster in your mind?
Oh man, there's there's a lot of guys. When given opportunity, and sometimes, unfortunately, that comes at the detriment of somebody else, being injured. But I could have pointed out that Jacob Brammer was a guy last year that we were all excited to see get him on the roster, and I think he's going to turn out to be a really good player. Aubrey Miller is an outstanding, I think, linebacker, special team demon. AJ Allen, obviously, I think Rider Nation understands his pedigree when it comes to special teams play, but certainly, what he's able to do potentially on defense as well. He's got some tools in there, but man, it sucks because as a coach, and even in the GM side of things, we're looking, oh man, could we get in a position to get these guys some tapes, get them out there, we want to see them. And it works in your favor sometimes, or sometimes it doesn't. But even with the guys who don't play, when the floor, so to speak, is elevated than most places, which we feel we have with our depth here, you're in good position.
Curtis, can you put up that stat? So, Corey, this came out from CFL Stats that basically the margin of victory was 9.9 points last year, one of the slimmest since the 70s. But when it comes down to it, there was a good chunk, like 30 to 40%. What are we seeing here? It's 4 points or less. So basically, turnovers and the ability to score and score quickly remains at the top of the chart in the CFL. Now, turnovers last year, I think the Riders, you know what? Tip of the cap. Roland Milligan Jr., everybody, like you mentioned, AJ Allen. We got in scoring position. We scored. We kicked a lot of field goals. We didn't necessarily score touchdowns. And you got to score touchdowns. You got to be able to pace yourself into that lead. Is that scheme? Is that experience? What is that? Or what are you guys working on to in 2025 to it's touchdowns, not field goals we're after?
Yeah, sixes instead of threes. That's kind of the general term. Across the coaching world. And every week it could be something. It could be a scheme. It could be error, player error, or it could be the other team does a good job too. But certainly, we try to put ourselves and mimic ourselves in those situations throughout the week of practice. And I think the situation we found ourselves in with the amount of rotation that we had of a bunch of guys, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, continuity is big. And I think you see that in totality with how we've kind of attacked the roster to have ourselves an opportunity to get as many people together. But saying that, man, I thought we've done an outstanding job as an offense, specifically as it pertains to protecting the football. At least you're coming away with 3 to give yourself a chance. You don't want to take a turnover, specifically in the other end zone, not come away with anything. No, certainly. Mueller and a lot of the guys in here, they're here all dang day, so they're working.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to be a fan and to be frustrated. I can only imagine the coaching staff. You get a turnover, and then all of a sudden, if you have that chance, and touchdown score. So one of the most colorful personalities we have on the SportsCage, and he comes on every couple of weeks. He's always got a smile on his face. Sometimes he's at his hairdresser. Sometimes he's in a park. Sometimes he's in his car. Is one Charleston Hughes, one of your former teammates from your time with the Calgary Stampeders. And when we asked him about Mike Rose and the signing, and we said, what makes Mike Rose so good? And he said, well, he got a chance to learn in Calgary. He got a chance to see from some guys in front of him who were starting, and he got a chance to absorb and take it all in, and then got like basically a proper foundation to basically when it was his time to shine, to take over and be a star. Do you expect that out of Mike Rose to be doing that with the younger players now that he's part of Rider Nation, with some of the younger players that are going to be on the roster, to pay that back or pay that forward for what he got when he was a Stampeder?
Yeah, I mean, having a relationship with Mike, his patience, I think, was the number one thing. Number one thing I think paid off for him. He spent 2 years of not playing, behind Micah at the time, who was, he's getting 14 sacks as a 3 technique, which I don't remember the last time that's happened. And it was hard to get Mike Rose on the roster, but those 2 years that he was able to soak things up, not only just from Micah, but all the other players in the room, I think served him as he went forward. So, those are things even when I wasn't coaching Mike, just the relationship I have with a lot of my ex-players is just pushing those guys to remember that and feed it forward from that standpoint. So certainly I think, whether it's vocally, which with him I know is part of who he is, but even just how he attacks the game and how he's going to attack the work week, the young guys could pay attention to that, specifically if they got to kind of bide time by waiting to get their playing time. The light at the end of the tunnel is worth it.
Corey Mace, head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, joins us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline here on the Sports Cage. So when we hop into
Charleston, you guys pay Charleston for these? I can't believe.
No.
Thank God. I was going to say.
Well, he's coming on tomorrow, so if you want to say, we'll pass it on. So let's hop in our CFL time machine, and we go back to 2014. The Riders win the Grey Cup in 2013. But that was in kind of the Stamps' decades of dominance, and the Stamps should always kind of end up, in the Western Final, let alone the Grey Cup game. But 2014, you back with a vengeance. You're 15-3, and you end up winning the Grey Cup. And now here's so besides you being on this ferocious defense, here's some names. Stop me if you need to jump in, because there's some personalities on here and some CFL All-Stars. So we got Josh Bell, Frank Beltre, Fred Bennett, Freddie Bishop, Yannick Carter, DeQuinn Evans, Jeff Hecht, Charleston Hughes, Micah Johnson, Sean Lemon had 13 sacks that season, Glenn Love, Carl McCartney, Keon Raymond, Lynn J. Shell, Quinn Smith, Jawan Simpson, Brandon Smith, Junior Turner, Jamar Wall. It almost doesn't seem fair. Okay, now keep in mind, Huff knows how to scout. It almost doesn't seem fair, the lineup you had. Okay, so a lot of great players, a lot of personalities. What made you guys so good, outside of just raw talent, for everybody to come together to make you so dominant?
Yeah, to be honest, a lot of those guys, we had been together for a couple of years. I thought a veteran-laden group with good leadership, I think, at all 3 levels of the defense. Even if you look at it myself, behind me was Simp, and then behind him was Bell. All 3 of us ended up coaching in this league. And I thought the injection of, rest in peace, Rich Stubler coming over and kind of allowing us, even as a new coordinator, and understanding the system that he wanted to place, allowing us as players to have a little bit of a voice too, and how we saw things, and him having the trust to allow us to get things accomplished, as long as the end goal is what we all wanted, right? So, I thought it was infectious. It was fun to play with those guys. And for us at that time, it just felt like there was unfinished business. We fell short in 12 versus Toronto, and then 13, obviously, the way that ended. We knew it was our time. So specifically with that group, but yeah, some excellent players, all-stars. Guys went back to the NFL. Some guys continued playing for a long time, and then just really cool to look back on.
At any point after one of the games, when maybe you're in downtown Calgary at a club celebrating, you're like, listen, Micah, I'm probably going to be your head coach one day, so I'm going to need you to tone this thing down or whatever. There's going to be, how crazy is that Micah Johnson's still playing? You're the head coach. Like, this is nuts when you read off some of those names on there.
Yeah. No, it is. It's, we laugh about it from time to time too. It's, what I love most about our working relationship is that, we both understand what needs to be done. And we respect our position and our roles within the building. But, from time to time, specifically too in the off season, you take the head coach's hat off, and it's just like, this is my teammate at one point, my young buck. We laugh about it, man. But one that I'm like, you're still doing it. Like, you just came off an all-star year, at the age he's still rolling, and obviously the position that I'm in. But with that, we're just we're proud of each other. We're happy for each other. But similar to 14, we've got other things we want to accomplish together.
All right. Let's see here. February 28th is the CFL Invitational Combine. March 21 to 23 is the Combine in Regina. CFL Draft. If you just want to let us know who you're drafting first, that'd be great. Rookie Camp opens May 7th. So in the next couple of weeks, is it time to take a little downtime now that free agency's over with the family, or is it just to the grindstone? Now the hard work is really going to start.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a little bit of both. We just had the full staff came up last week for about 10 days, and we were really hammering home some stuff together.
Yep.
And then we continue to push through, as we're, revamping the playbooks and, as it pertains to that kind of stuff. And then now with free agency being over, it's kind of a full meal deal dive into the draft class, watching these guys, getting them graded up, reaching out to their coaches, trying to get a better feel for who the kid is outside of the player that we see on film, and try to figure out if those guys are riders. With saying that, though, yes, there's certainly some downtime. Been spending good time with the family, and certainly the coaches who live here in town, breaking bread with those guys and their families. And then I am taking off selfishly. I think my wife is, she's the best. She's allowing me. I'm going out to London with some friends to go catch a soccer match here on Saturday, and then I'll be back after a couple days. So just got to jump out there real quick to support the Spurs.
London, Ontario, London, England.
England, yeah, England.
Nice. So if you see Corey Mace in an airport flying international near you, and you want to have extra points and bump him to first class, do what Rider Nation does. We're all a family. Let's get this thing rolling.
That'd be very nice. I just saw you talking with Glenn with suits. I might be the guy at the Spurs versus Man City wearing a Riders jersey. I think I want to do it. I want to be a part of it. I can't wait.
I want to see you and Suter in the be gladiators at the Coliseum.
Awesome. At the Coliseum.